I'm Commander Shepard, and you're listening to my favorite podcast on the Citadel, Raw Dogs.
Feel free to say whatever you want. If you say something that you... Because we're going to be talking about... just a sec. We're going to be talking about weird shit today. We're going to be talking about fascism and communism.
Correct.
And sexual assault. Yep. We're going to be talking about...
Should we call it a trigger warning?
Cryptozoologists.
Correct.
We're going to be talking about a little bit of everything. So feel free to go as crazy as you like.
The parameters were.
Parameters is...
There are none, really.
Cool.
The name of our podcast, Raw Dogs. We're on the Raw Dogs today. It's kind of an allusion to going in without protection.
Sure, yeah.
So if that
Which
says
is
anything.
kind of how I went into this game. So
a little bit, yeah. So, okay, yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Raw Dogs podcast.
Yep. What episode are we on now?
This is number 67.
Oh, damn.
Can't wait till 69.
I know.
Dude.
I was like, what an honor that would have been. I mean, it's still an honor to be here, but...
The 69th episode is going to be... a history of sex in video games.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I've already found a few good articles on bisexuality in video games that I did a little research for. So that's going to be exciting. That'll be cool.
Will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But today we're talking about Disco Elysium. We're part of Hair the Dogcast. We are a member of the HyperX Podcast Network. Go to podcast.hyperx.com to find out all about it, all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. And my name is Brad. I think that I probably roll higher in the drama department. I have a little bit of logic.
Yeah.
Pretty good encyclopedia.
Oh.
I do have a lot of useless trivia.
Nice.
But you're also a good researcher, so...
Yeah, as a physical instrument, though, I didn't roll as high as I'd like. We'll say that much.
I think I'm mostly intuitive, even to the point of Inland Empire, empathy, stuff like that. I've got maybe a bit of logic and encyclopedia going on in there, but But I also think I have a lot of the dopey strength stats, just for no reason.
I'd say that
like a real idiot strength.
You definitely are high in the Inland Empire. I'd say you have a pretty good electrochemistry as well, which is fun times.
Yeah, mine is as a regular person. I think that's also why I went into it kind of hard in the games. Was the visual calculus. I think was kind of my go-to. Yeah. I really like that.
It's almost more poetic when you do that. We're getting into it too quick.
Yeah, right.
Whose voice are we hearing over there?
Julian.
Julian,
you sounded unsure about that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. Yeah, I'm Julian. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I very much appreciate being here.
Wanted to have you on for a while.
Yeah. No, I'm very, very happy to be here. Also, first I'm doing a podcast, so you guys are taking my cherry.
Oh, so. Nice. I'm a cherry poppin' daddy.
Yeah. Dylan was there when my cherry was taken.
Yeah.
Yep. It was a Stanley Kubrick episode, and I made him do a 2-parter, and I wouldn't shut up. Yeah.
Well, that's a good sign of a podcaster.
Yeah.
How much of this beer do you want, Julian? Just a little bit?
As much as you want to give me. I really don't care. I'm in it.
Okay. We're drinking a beer in honor of Disco Elysium today. This is from Barrel Theory Brewing Company in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is a big crowler. I want to say this is 32 ounces.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
25 ounces. Yes, it's called Altar of Madness, which seemed appropriate
Very
today.
fitting.
I believe it will.
We got ourselves a hazy IPA today.
Thank you, sir.
There we are. Cheers,
all right,
guys.
Boys. Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
I'm excited to talk about this game. Have you beaten it, Brad?
Yes. I didn't think I was going to. I was on day 4, and I always go to howlongtobeat.com, and it kind of gives you a rough estimate of what people expect it to be, but there's also main game was 20 hours, and then main game plus a lot of side stuff. And I'm really bad at skipping things. I won't skip
I'm
stuff.
the same way. I need to get in the nitty gritty all the fucking time.
I gotta go down every hallway, and I can't leave anything out there,
Which made it tough with this game too, because I wanted to read everything.
Yeah.
And then it very quickly just settled in on me that I was like, wow, I have to read everything.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's a lot.
And so I didn't think I was going to even have a chance. We were out of town, and it's Indie Games Month here on the Dogcast. So we're covering a different game every episode, and usually I can get away with not playing games all the time because there'll be like certain topics where we just fuck around, and these require me to beat new games. Although I'd already beaten Hades, so that was good. But yesterday I sat down, and I knew Disco Elysium had a maximum day count of 10, so I thought there's no way I'm getting through 6 days. But I also found out you can solve the case earlier.
Yep.
And I had done most of the casework. So yesterday I sat down for about 8 hours straight and beat the game. And I didn't love it. I loved it at the beginning, and then there was a solid 4 hours in the middle. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's good, but I am not in the mind frame.
Yeah. It took me a couple of tries of picking it up, getting into those 4 hour, 5 hour sessions.
When you pass that first day, everything kind of goes to it's not like a beat for beat, but everything kind of starts rolling along.
Yeah.
And then you just have to kind of absorb yourself in the world, because this is one of those lore bukkake things.
Yeah.
Where you're thrown into it just like
Welcome to Revolution, the anti-Semitic revolution.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, whoa, man, you're not even using I don't think a lot of the words are real words.
Yeah, and that's
got a made up
baffling
dialect.
to me. They created this whole world, right, that just basically draws from our own world, right? And then they just draws parallels to it.
Right.
And I thought it was, again, it takes a little while, I think, to like roll into it. And then you're like, wait, is this like historical fiction, or is it like, what are we doing? And then after a while, it just like kind of takes, and it maybe just took me a minute to understand the parallels it draws to our regular world, right?
Yeah.
What
a weird fucking game.
It's like it's within itself.
Before we get further, spoiler warning: we are going to talk about everything.
Yes.
This is a game where I think it's a lot better if you haven't been spoiled.
So I think one thing I should say up front is that I started playing this during the pandemic.
Sure.
And I started playing it when I took a lot of mushrooms.
Nice. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I felt a little bit like Harry.
Sure.
I played through it in probably
Dude, if you shaved your fucking chin right there, you'd have the perfect look.
I know. I'm actually thinking about being him for Halloween, because I think I could pull this one off pretty damn good. Yeah.
You can get the horrific necktie from the official website for $25.
I think I fucking might.
Yeah.
That's actually cool. Like, I really like him as a character in general, because you get like this blank slate thing.
Yeah.
What I was saying though, I played the not final cut.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
An important delineation to make. The original game did not have voice acting. There are some other quality of life improvements.
There was some voice acting.
Some, but mostly not.
I personally don't know if I would have loved the game as much if it wasn't because of the voice acting.
I like the voice acting in this game because there's such like a softness to it, and everyone talks to you. It talks to you in a very specific way.
Yeah.
But no, I was reading the entire time.
Same.
So
I'm also a subtitles guy.
Oh, subtitles all the way.
I got like horrific hearing.
Yeah.
So I got to read all my shit all the time.
There's a point though where I'm talking to Measurehead, and he is discussing 10 different races and why he's racist about each one of them, and I'm not going to leave a stone unturned. I want to hear all of the dialogue tree. And I've been listening to this guy talk about race theory for 10 minutes, and I can't do it.
No.
And so there does come a point, though, where I do half speed reading, and luckily they break up the dialogue in a way that makes a little bit of sense, where you catch the major points. Because and near the end, I knew that to finish the game, I had to short shrift a few characters, because I was like, I have to finish this shit.
Yeah.
And
I realized that I became an accidental racist.
Well, the best way to get through that, the best way to get through that gate is to actually lean into his ideology.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was another way, because it teaches you about.
I don't know the other way. I've only played through this in total once.
Yeah, and he was like going through it, and I was like, wait, it's like, am I the fucking racist? I was like,
he's like talking about like phrenology, which is like the study of like head shapes and stuff and noses.
That's like Leo DiCaprio and Django.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, you played the non-final cut
On Steam.
on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Okay. And Julian, yourself?
I played it on my computer on Steam.
Okay.
Final Cut.
You played the final cut.
Correct. Yeah. So I picked it up last year at some point after the Final Cut, and in typical me fashion, I got it on sale. Just one of those games, much like when I even got The Witcher 3, which I got it, Game of the Year edition, and I picked it up well after its prime, and still, it hit just right.
Yeah.
I fell in love, and it was one of those things, like I said, it was like I put it down, and then I picked it up, and I put it down, and I picked it up. But there was this love that I have with it because it's very, it's melancholic, and it's fucking sad, and it's tough. And I also did a thing which I don't know if I did it from a weird moralistic kind of perspective, but I chose to not do any drugs. I raw dogged the game.
Yeah.
Which, taking drugs makes the game easier.
Generally.
Correct.
to regain your points, right?
Yeah. But I just chose to, I was like, okay, cool. This dude obviously has a substance abuse problem. So I was like, I'm going to break him out of that,
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that, again, that's how invested I got into it, that I was like, I want to help this guy go through this and kind of pull himself out of the mud. Because that's just kind of what this game does. It puts you in this perspective that you're playing as him, but you also don't feel like you're him. At least I didn't.
No,
I felt like I was living his story.
I think what's cool about it is it sounds dumb, but it is a choose your own adventure in the truest style.
Yeah.
It's where you're controlling the characters, and especially with the main character of this game who has amnesia right away. Mm-hmm. It is the best cipher for any video game whatsoever. You get it in like Final Fantasy VII even. Yeah. Like the big trope in JRPGs is like your character has amnesia.
Yeah.
And for not a lot of explained reasons why, like maybe they hit their head or whatever. But in this one, it's literally just the guy got so fucked up one night.
Dude was on a 3-day bender. He told all of his team to fuck off. You're cramping my style.
Yeah.
He crashes his car in the water, loses his badge, sells his gun at a pawn shop.
So he doesn't fucking kill himself.
And he just leaves a corpse in a tree.
I wanted to say something else about Harrier because...
spoiler alert, his name's Harry.
Yeah. If you haven't gotten through the first, 6 hours of the game, his name is actually Harry.
Where is Harry?
No, I kind of like that he's the detective character in the novels.
Yes.
What's the detective character's name? I forget.
Fuck. They make fun of him in the comic.
Oh my god, yeah.
And then the neighbor at the hotel, speaking of his bender, said she could hear him in his room screaming, "I don't want to be this kind of animal anymore."
Oh yeah.
While listening to the same song on loop all night long.
It doesn't sound dissimilar from me.
Yeah. Well, and I think there was part of that too that I don't think to that extreme, but I don't know, especially being a bartender for 7-8 years, I know what it's like to go on a few day bender and absolutely not take care of myself.
Yeah.
And then afterwards just not be in the best mental space.
Yeah.
Again, I never went to amnesia. But
I definitely told a few friends to fuck off, you're cramping my style.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen my ID? Sorry, I was a dick.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
Well, and I'm lucky with this podcast because one of my co-hosts here, he has such an exquisite taste in games, and I have been forced to play games that I normally wouldn't, that have become some of my favorite games of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Disco Elysium, I knew absolutely nothing going into this game.
Same.
I had zero prep, and then the very first thing that happens is a black screen, and it says Ancient Reptilian Brain. It's like, do you want to wake up?
No, baby, sweet oblivion. Let's let it ride. That was my entire thing.
Yep.
I pushed it for a while. I was like,
oh. He's like, are you sure?
I don't want to.
Are you sure?
And when you have the most awkward hangover wake up, and you turn the lights on and you immediately lose health.
Yeah.
It's that traumatic.
Back just to the voice acting, and part of the reason I fell in love with it, and like you said, it's like calming and soothing. It's just like, especially the main narrator, his voice has almost like a James Earl Jones kind of tone to it.
He's kind of straightforward. He describes everything a little like this.
Yeah, and then I remember I would purposely play with my headphones on.
Oh, okay.
because I would love to hear his voice.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I was like, to have that, like, the deep treble and the way that he describes everything.
He does voice many of the skills as well. That same voice, which makes sense.
Yeah.
He also is like the voice of Everard Clare. Harry, welcome, Harry.
God, I hated that fuck.
he does a lot of voices. His name is Lenvol Brown. He is a jazz and ska musician as well.
Oh, no shit.
So you can like hear some of his music. It doesn't sound like the reptilian brain. But,
Sure.
The narrate. So most of this game, a lot of the dialogue, 2/3 of it is inner monologue.
Yeah.
And the different parts of your brain kind of talking back and forth. So the main narrator has been said is the posterior neocortex.
Yeah.
And then the other like non-skill based ones you'll get are the ancient reptilian brain, the limbic system, and occasionally the spinal cord.
Yeah.
Are all talking with you.
I love it.
Oh, it's great. It's interesting. I have never played a game like this. I've had games with dialogue trees, but
No.
the branching dialogue scares me.
I can't think of another game that has this kind of layers to it. Where
it's interesting. It was written by like 2 people,
which is insane to me.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel so stupid.
Robert, we can talk about where the game came from. Developed and published by ZA/UM. Designer and writer Robert Kurvitz from Estonia. The primary artist is Alexander Rostov. It's composed by an English alt rock band, but primarily this is Robert Kurvitz's brainchild.
Sure.
In 2005, he was hanging out in squalor and poverty while listening to DJ Tiesto's remix of Adagio for String. He has a perfect, he has everything figured out. Him and his friends decided that they were tired of being poor, and so they created an creative outlet for artists and writers. And they also played a lot of D&D, and that's when they started creating the world of Elysium.
That's cool.
One of the reasons the world is so developed is because they kind of workshopped it in Dungeons & Dragons for like over 10 years, which is kind of crazy.
That's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a lot of thought into the world design for this.
Yeah. Like I said, absolutely. And part of like, again, one of the aspects that I really love too is the fact that like your thoughts... Right, you pick a thought, and then it's not something that you just put points into it and then you gain it. You have to conceptualize it, which I thought was cool. I was like, that's badass. I was like, they give you a thought that you gain from talking to someone or whatever, and then you put it in this tree, and now you have to wait 6 in-game hours or whatever. But that's literally how thoughts work. It's not something that you suddenly. I'm like, oh. Yeah, no, I understand this concept now.
Yeah.
It's like I have to fucking think about it. And sometimes as you're doing other things in your life, right, you just go on and you do your life, and eventually you're like, oh, wait, no, I fucking get that now.
It's kind of bouncing. It's bouncing around in the back of your head. You're like, I know I want to know more about like what's going on as the art degree. And if you go into like read the descriptions of the thoughts too, once he gets his art degree, it's just like 20 adjectives talking about how all art sucks and he's like better than it and stuff.
Yeah.
The dialogue is amazing. Just the writing, it's nihilistic, it's existential, it's sarcastic, it's sharp, it's funny, it's scary, it's witty,
and it's one of those things that like it's obviously very serious stuff, but it also doesn't take itself too seriously.
No.
And that's kind of what I liked about it. The fact that it can be quirky and kind of, you're talking about killing yourself, but it does it like in a weird way, in a funny way that, and obviously it depends to the audience, but sometimes you're like, nah, I fucking get it. There are days that, for sure you're like, man, bullet to my brain sounds sick.
Yeah.
Well, it's nihilistic.
Just like Kim throws you a set of keys and you miss the catch. I know. I'm like, I'm just going home, man.
The morale hits I thought was also incredible.
Well, I think
you just feel so dumb when someone makes fun of your like one morality.
Yeah, I know. Well, what's great about the game too is that it is very like demoralizing in a way that video games are usually power fantasies.
Correct. Nope. Harrier Dubois is not getting a power
There's
fantasy.
no way to get really more powerful in this game. You just have to kind of luck it out every single time.
Saves coming.
And and like that's why it also like that's why it has like that parallel, I think, with just like just being a regular person.
Yeah.
That sometimes you just have to fucking power through things.
Well, and Harry is still
You're gonna fuck up.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And Harry is still generally kind of one character because you get the hint of him pretty much right away.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it becomes a choice of how you develop that character.
Well, you can push him into fascism. You can have
know.
him punch children.
I know.
He can be on drugs all day.
Oh, I know. Do you think I didn't punch him?
Yeah.
Dude, I missed him.
My guy got him. It was like a 25% chance.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's Kuno.
I was about to say Kuno.
Kuno.
The fucking boy.
I just call him the boy.
Are you fucking trying to have sex with me, big?
Molester.
Okay, so one of the endings can have a weird scenario where Kuno becomes your partner.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
watching the scene, and it's just Kuno saying "fucking did," and he's like saying all these terrible words. This has just happened 2 hours ago. Some guy came and knocking on the door, wanted to talk about vote this guy into office, and I forgot to turn Kuno off. So in the background, it's just Kuno just being Kuno, and I was like, you gotta go, man. I'll vote for whoever. Fuck off. Yeah. And then I did the finger pistols, just like Harrier, because that was one of the things. Once I learned finger pistols, every time I had a chance to do them at people, I did them.
Yeah. I think this game is special in a few other ways too. There is not a lot of violence. This game is not about doing anything like heinous for the most part.
Sure, yeah.
It's all about like the development of ideas. And another thing that's really interesting too is that in video games, a lot of problem solving breaks down to violence.
Sure, yeah.
So this game is about solving problems in the worst way possible.
And avoiding violence. Too.
Yeah.
The most violent sequence of the game is you desperately trying to stop violence, which is great.
It was there was a lot of the game felt very, when it's melancholic, but also like retrospective. It talks about the history of Revachol and like how it became to be this like somewhat like it was like after the revolution, right? But it was still like in disarray.
It's still broken.
It's still broken
inherently. And
yeah.
The way
and
that the police force works, they're basically for hire. These cities basically run themselves.
Like Kim said, he was like, "We are just here to keep the peace."
Well,
like they're not policing, and like what was the Hardy Boys? The Hardy Boys were the ones who were actually like enforcing things.
For sure,
like local vigilantes.
Yeah, and it's like, and it was at first I remember just resenting them so much, and then kind of understanding that they're also like within all their flaws, they're also kind of the good guys.
Yeah,
they're trying to protect a woman who might or might not have been involved, and they won't give you an inch because they're just like, we're not fucking gonna cave on this. We're protecting someone, and we're a team. And
yeah.
I also found it
Fat Angus though,
and not just with the Hardy Boys, but kind of same thing with Kuno. It was like sometimes whether like your skills aren't there or you just don't know a certain facet of whatever it is you're talking about to another character, the way you get stonewalled, you're like, wow, I really can't go past this.
Yeah.
You're like, I am fucking hard stuck.
And then,
some games don't punish you that hard, right? To be like, no, well, go fucking look for that answer.
Yeah.
The game is literally like, you don't know this shit, idiot. Get back to it. Come back later.
Ain't nothing you can do here.
Yeah.
Go find something else.
Yeah.
I want to talk just a little bit about the world, because I did a lot of Wikipedia today.
Nice.
So Elysium is the name of the planet, of the world that they live in. It's not actually a sphere. Elysium is something more like a disk surrounded by a corona of light.
Nice.
These are weird things that I found. The land masses, there's 7 of them. They're separated by vast stretches of literal nothingness.
The pale.
The pale is literally nothingness. It's not just like water. It's trying to like traverse through black matter that you can't perceive, which is really cool.
Well, it's cool because the world has this visual element, like it's breaking apart at the seams.
Yeah.
Like it's like everything's about to fall off.
As it is.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
Well, and the pale is expanding. Currently covers 72% of Elysium, and it is expanding at an unknown rate. It will swallow Elysium. So there are 7 land masses. The most recently discovered one was Insulinde, which is where this game takes place. Could go into a lot more than all of this, but just so you know, it is in this new landmass is La Caillou, which it contains Revachol. It is the disgraced former capital of the world. So this was discovered about 300 years ago. A new religion started with Dolores Day, Dolores Day, and
she was the one that you saw in the church, right? The big,
the Mother Mary looking figure.
Yeah.
And moralism is largely based on her. But communism took hold and kind of took over the planet for a while. Communists were not really well organized. I don't know if it was the fascists. The moral intern is who it is.
Yeah.
They bombed the shit out of everything.
Yep.
The leader of Revachol was a cocaine, syphilis-addled monster.
Yep.
But
that was the suzerain, right?
yeah, dude, these are all just like things that you hear about over 20 hours. And for me to just finally like get a picture of what was happening made me feel good.
It took me a minute. Like I said, it took me just a while to be like, what the fuck are they talking about?
and they will keep talking too.
Yeah.
Those two old guys, like, fuck you, man.
What game were they playing?
Boule.
Boule, yeah.
I didn't realize what I was doing either. I thought that I should do everything.
Nope.
So one of the things was, prove how cool you are. So I grabbed one of their boule balls and just throw it in the water.
Yeeted it.
And I'm like, what's up? And they're so pissed.
Jesus Christ, why?
I did the exact same thing. You just grab it and you're like, what is it like? And you throw it like you know what you're doing. Like you feel like you know what you're doing. You just do it, and then they just look at you like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And you have this confidence. You're like, I fucked this shit up. Yeah. You're like,
finger pistol them.
Yeah.
It's so full of like contemplative, awkward pauses.
Yes.
Of just
Oh my God.
And you can sense just how embarrassed everyone is,
Dude.
Including Kim.
The cringe.
I know. It's just like, why did you do this?
Yeah.
Because even when you're in control, you're not fully in control of what's going on.
And when Kim is disappointed in you,
you don't want
feels bad.
But you mentioned you played it pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Didn't do the drugs.
Correct.
You were on a redemption path.
Just raw dogged it.
Dylan, yourself?
I kind of did multiple things. I actually chose based on what I might actually choose in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
It didn't always turn out well because of the situation you were talking about. Like, this is how I would play it. But you can get trapped in like logic puzzles of like, oh, you lie about knowing something, and people are like, yeah, but what about it? And you're just like, oh shit. And you're just like, oh, I know where to go. And then it's just finger guns. And it's just like, okay, well, fine. And then people like hate you. And I tried to be really empathetic because that's kind of what I thought this character would be.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do any of this. Come on. I thought about playing him as like a straight brute, but I did not think that was going to end well in any scenario.
Sure.
So I was just like, yeah, empathy all the way.
Yeah.
You're kind of dumb, but you're very, very in tune with your emotions.
Yeah.
Like my Harry actually cries a lot.
Oh, sure.
There's one part where you can like cry like violently in front of the Hardy Boys. You're like, I showed them.
Yeah, I did that. I'm just like, just feel bad for me, man.
I tried to, I mean, I always do this when I play games where you have options. We're like, I'm a good guy. I'm just going to be the good guy.
Yeah.
But I was like, I found a potent Pilsner, and I was like, I'm going to drink a beer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm not supposed, well, if you get these tasks, and one of them was find speed and sniff it.
Yeah.
Find booze and drink it. Find cigarettes and smoke them.
I really liked how electrochemistry would just, you're middle of a task, and it's like, dude, blow sounds sick right now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's what I really liked. That it felt like thoughts.
Yeah.
There was
That you're just like in the middle of a task, and suddenly it's like, you should really do some blow.
Yeah, it's true. There's this one guy talking about communism, and like, did he say cocainism?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It'd be really better if you were high right now.
Yes. Stuff like that, which I'm not even a big drugs person.
Yeah.
But it's funny that yesterday we went to a baseball game, and in my brain I was just like, yeah, I wonder if they're going to have Coke. And I'm like, why am I thinking that?
Yeah.
It's like, why am I thinking that? Why am I thinking?
Because it feels amazing.
It feels incredible, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, again, I'm not even like that. But then I thought it was funny that in this game, they're able to grab stuff like that as humans.
Yeah.
They could just be like, yeah, man, you should just fucking do some speed.
Yeah.
Imagine how fast you'd solve this case if you
Exactly.
did some speed.
There's a part where I'm doing an autopsy, and it's like try and steal the dead guy's boots without Kim noticing.
Yo,
It's like you said. I didn't do speed until Kim was asleep, and then I did a little speed when he was out of the view because I didn't want to do it in front of Kim.
It was crazy how much freedom I felt when he wasn't around.
Yeah,
because I felt like I was like, well, now I can like do things without like disappointing him.
I made a rave church after Kim went to bed. You know?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just like, I don't want to disappoint him. I kind of went to bed with him. I was like, I'll sleep too, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
That was it technically a side quest? The whole church thing?
That was a side quest.
Okay. Because it felt very, like, at least to understand the story, it felt very important to know.
Almost every single side quest winds up relating back to the bigger story in some way.
Yeah.
When I found out at the end of the game, the cryptozoologist character's quest like kind of had a huge conclusion.
Yeah.
That really was like an amazing moment.
It was crazy to me because also like it was one of those things that I remember, and again like the level of like empathy you feel for characters that I was like, oh, I feel like obviously all these cryptids are not a thing. No. But they're super into it. So I felt like I had to play along to make them feel better.
Well, no.
But you actually don't know if they're not real or not because the world is so different.
Every time you agree to do something, Kim's like, should we really be looking into Bigfoots and stuff? And you're like, this is important, Kim.
That's what I was into. I didn't get the conclusion of that quest line at all.
Well, I wound up not doing all of the side quest, but the end of the game does have a cryptid that shows up.
The actual...
Oh, shit, really?
You had to have seen it.
In Delusion, the main cryptid that we're looking for is actually real.
Well, it's the last character you speak with in the game.
Yeah.
The stick insect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It made me feel good that I was like, fuck, they were right. They were right. After all these years of trying and trying and trying, I'm like, they were onto something.
Yes. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons all the story ends up happening is because of the mind-bending effects it kind of has too. But like, even the rave church winds up relating back to the main story because you go to the church and you're talking with Suna, the programmer, who's investigating what is like a hole in the world.
The 2 millimeter.
There's a
hole in the world, or hole. How do they call it? A 2 millimeter
hole in. I'd say hole in the world, something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, it was. I thought it was funny how precise they were. That it's a 2 millimeter hole.
Yes, and. You have to like move all the water to specific spots in there, but that actually is the pail that is expanding and is talking about like nothingness is going to come out of that. And good Lord, hardcore to the mega.
I spent. I'm not sure if you guys did that dialogue option where you have to talk to Egghead.
I solved the Egghead puzzle.
You have to solve that puzzle. It took me forever to understand what the fuck was happening, but what an incredible character I thought for such a bonehead. Yeah. Right on the surface level. I was like, this man kind of knows what the fuck he's talking about.
They just want to party.
They just want to party.
Well, that's art imitating reality too. Like everything feels very naturalistic in this game. Like you approach people and they kind of talk to you the way that they would.
Yeah.
It's not like NPCs being like, go to this cave and you'll find this.
There was so much raw emotion in the people and the dialogue and everything. That's again another thing that just was so. That's why I'm really impressed that you played it without a lot of the voice acting because
you lose a lot. I didn't have the presence of mind to go through the final cut just because I felt like I had played it before.
Yeah.
I got it on the Switch. I have the final cut on the Switch.
I've heard the Switch version's not great.
It runs kind of bad.
The Xbox version runs pretty fucking bad.
I can't play
the frame rate is always choppy.
I can't play it with a controller. I can't. I need because like when you need to inspect things, and that's something I did want to talk about. The mechanics.
Yeah.
Not in love with it.
Well, I mean, I could see it being a million times better on the computer.
And it wasn't great.
And
that might be a hot take. The game is beautiful, the design is sick.
Yeah.
I get that. But the mechanics were clunky.
It's designed for a mouse.
There were moments where I was so frustrated Harry would just walk into like areas and just stop.
So it was and again, it was part of the thing, but it's like it was so slow and you're like, ugh. Like sometimes you're just like, oh, I'm just dragging just because like the exploring of this thing is a pain in the ass. And because of the visual effects of it, sometimes I'm like, oh, I was like, I can actually inspect that. It took me a minute to even realize the things that I couldn't inspect, that I couldn't inspect.
Yeah.
And again, might be a hot take.
No, you're right. You're
But
right. It's like in Elden Ring, walking into a dark room and you just like start spamming to try and find targets because you don't know.
You're just clicking that thumbstick.
Yeah. And again, and I think it's part of the beauty of the game, though. Not everything needs to be perfect. And that's how I take most video games, though. Some people are so hard on like, this game needs to be perfect and like everything needs to be polished. And sometimes they're just not. Because the beauty of this game is not even about the mechanics, right? You're not shooting, you're not fighting. It's all about you're basically reading a book. That's how it felt. And when people ask me like, "Hey, would you recommend this game to me?" I'm just like,
with a few caveats.
Well, a little bit. I was like, if you like reading, then you might really like this game.
Are you into depression?
Well, I would never recommend this to just anyone. That's one of those things where it's like,
you have to be a certain type of gamer for sure.
Because video games are still in their infancy in terms of like seeing it as like an artistic piece. So most people are just like, yeah, you make Mario jump. You jump on the turtle shell, you grab the turtle shell, you hit other enemies with it. And with this, it's a little bit more, how would I describe it?
Do you want to be a fascist?
Well, and having choices like that, and especially like the dice rolls for like all these like dialogue choices you're making to see if they work, like that adds like this insane element to it. I know that Tom actually played this before any of us,
and
for a fact.
He hasn't played the Final Cut version. He played it when it was just all reading. I don't know if he's played it again since then, but it was a minimal dialogue.
Again, it's incredible. The patience, like I said already. The patience and because there was some dialogue stuff that I don't want to say it's just filler, but it felt like fucking filler. That you're just like, do I need to know this shit?
I wouldn't say it's filler. It's optional content for those that would be interested.
That's a much better way of putting it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
They go so far into certain things where eventually I was like, no.
But that's
talking to Kuno.
I like the fact that you can dismiss thoughts.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
No, I don't like this. Yeah.
Because like again, much like real life, it's just like sometimes you have this thought like, do I wish to pursue this thought, or am I just gonna? Nah, fuck it.
You're the coolest guy in town.
Yeah. I made my guy think he was cool, but he outwardly he would just talk about how miserable he was to people, and it was just like, well, ego. That plays.
That's sad cop.
Sad cop.
That's a copotype.
Yep.
There's many copotypes.
Oh yeah, I got sad cop pretty quick.
But
people really do feel bad for you in that game.
I got that achievement real quick. What was it that you had to? The achievements also cracked me up. That you had to like be sad, like say sad things a certain amount of times, and you get like an achievement.
Yep.
I was like, oh fuck! I was like, I got that real quick.
Kim was always like patting me on the back. Essentially,
there's one hint that says, feel free to like say weird stuff because you are a cop and people will be more forgiving to you.
Yeah,
because they are afraid of you. But you were talking about mechanics. The moving is clunky. The looking around can be clunky,
especially on a controller because you're basically using that right stick to kind of scan.
Yep. Everywhere I go, I'm just always like sliding that thing around, and then you find something and you wind up walking the wrong direction. And it's slow and it's annoying, but at least the loading was fast.
It sounds like it feels sometimes like the game is like 5 seconds behind you and it's thinking the entire time.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like it was a video game who was made by non-video game creators, because that's what this is.
Yeah.
These people, I mean, do you guys know that there's an entire novel written in Estonian that's set in this world?
No. Really?
It only sold 1,000 copies, and this was before this game came out. He wrote a novel set in there, sold 1,000 copies, and then he became heavily depressed and alcoholic for like a long time.
Huh. Sure.
Yep.
Was his name Harry Dubois?
I think it's a little autobiographical for sure. It was a novel called Sacred and Terrible Air. Kurvitz said he met Kaur Kender, a novelist who understood capitalism, which he said is very rare. Then they said, we should make a video game. We fail at everything else. Let's fail at video games. The original one-page synopsis, a Dungeons & Dragons meets 70s cop show in an original, fantastic, realist setting. Isometric CRPG. Kender had to sell a Ferrari that he owned that belonged to Dolph Lundgren to get the game money to get created.
No shit.
How did he chance upon that to begin with?
Who knows? But he probably.
You think is it what they game?
won a
what
good
they
dice
made?
roll.
The failed game development studio in there.
What's that?
The one of the failed things in the Doom commercial area.
Oh yeah.
Was a failed game development.
The radio
workshop.
computer game. Yeah.
So I was like, would that be kind of like they put that in there because they probably never thought it was going to be a hit? They were like, "This is us,"
and
just fucking making a game and failing.
Probably. I mean, at least part of it is just them failing at everything. Also, like, I mean, they were listening to DJ Tiesto, and he was in a band. I didn't write the name of the band down, but those ravers are largely based on them in 2005, I'm sure.
It has to be.
There's just one guy in the corner like, hardcore! Hardcore to the mega, yeah! Just screaming hardcore all the time. They're like, hey, he's fine. Don't worry about him. He's harmless.
Another thing I really like about this game, and it always struck me pretty quick, is that...
May I see the cover?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've actually never seen the physical cover.
I love the illustrations in this game.
Yes.
Oil painting look to
Oh
him.
my God. And everything looks so beautiful. Like, I've used them as like phone backgrounds before. They're just so brilliantly beautiful. And it's all kind of like almost like they took like a palette knife to it and just scraped across. So it's like a lot of impressionism, stuff like that.
I thought it was incredible how Harry's expression,
The expression.
the
wry smile with like the...
But like, when you look at it, at least me the first time, I remember looking at it and being like, "You ugly son of a bitch."
You actually, you don't even know what your face looks like when you wake up and you have to go to the mirror.
You have to do the roll to look at yourself in the mirror, which I thought was hilarious.
I pumped myself up, called myself a rock star.
So Harrier Dubois, he was originally a gym teacher. And then he met Dora Ingerland, and she inspired him to join the RCM. In his 20s, during an economic upswing, he fell in love with disco music. And there was a disco superstar whose stage persona and mannerisms inspired Harry to do the expression, which that guy always had on. So that smile he got from like someone that was like the disco king, who was found dead due to autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, this is sick.
What else would you do in this world, though, to be honest? Like, in a world that's collapsing and dying around you, like...
So are we just talking about reality? Or?
Maybe, yeah. But I found that part interesting, is that this is like
This is gangster. I like that. That's really cool.
It's post-apocalypse, pre-ultra-apocalypse.
Yeah, and you're hungover.
I mean, I would be too.
And
and I am most of the time, as it is.
I'd be a mess in this world. It'd be awful.
I love just line people like, "Oh, I got my badge. Like, can we see it?"
No.
I don't have my badge.
I tried convincing the people over the phone, or our guys back at the precinct, that like I still had my gun, and then they called me out on it. I'm just like, I don't have the gun.
But
again, the embarrassment that game gives you. Yeah,
Harry is a super cop. He has solved 216 cases, and he only has 3 confirmed kills in his entire 26 years. One of the best percentages. He's declined 2 promotions. But his depression, it's only ever said kind of in passing, is due to an ex-love who left him.
Yeah.
And it's always in the back of his head.
Did you guys have... I had that death where... And I don't know if like my constitution wasn't good enough, but I read the letter, and it literally makes you fucking die.
Yeah.
Really?
And I remember, like, I was, like, deep in the game, and then suddenly I'm like, wait, am I fucking dead?
Well, I didn't know how dying worked. At first, and I sat in a bad chair at Everard Claire's office.
Oh, dude, that chair, dude.
And it says, you've lost all your health, heal now. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's because the chair is so uncomfortable that it
kills
kills
my
you.
God.
Everard Claire does it on purpose because the whole thing is that, like, that's the mastermind of this game, that this man is manipulative to, you know, the 10th degree, whereas like even the chair that he has in his office for you to sit in is the most uncomfortable thing on the fucking planet.
Another power play.
Yeah. It was like, I'm like the layers to it, but that I chose to not sit. I was like I don't want to fucking sit. So I don't want to sit.
I tried to exercise authority, and I was just like, no, I don't need to sit. I'm talking here. Like, I don't need to sit. Why would I let you get the upper hand on me in this? So I never sat in the chair.
Yeah, that's supposed to be what's called one of the boss fights, quote unquote.
Oh, really?
Because you lose so much morale and health in that exchange.
Yeah, in boss fights. Essentially, if you've gone to the store and bought enough healing and morale items, you won't die. The problem is, though, you will get to red and white checks, and it is possible to fail something, and you're like, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
I dropped the keys when Kim threw them to me, and this is embarrassing as fuck. And I tell that lady I want to fuck her. I want to make fuck with you.
I said that.
Well, that's one of the first.
Do you want to have fuck?
And she's like, "What do you say?" And you're like, "I said, do you want to have sex with me?" And she's like, "No."
Immediately, one less morale, like off the gate.
You didn't say that, did you, Harry?
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break to hear from some of the other amazing shows from the HyperX Podcast Network. I'm going to go grab some spiked borscht from the fridge, because that is one of the quests in the game. We'll be right back.
Cool. I got to check my phone.
All right. Entertain the Kuno. Show me what you got. What you got there? What you got, huh? Show me what you got.
Fight inflation the old-fashioned way, by spending less money. Check out the HyperX store at Amazon.com to find great Prime Day deals on July 12th and 13th. Stock up on new gaming gear so you'll be equipped for the new launches and content drops. Mark your calendars and set your alarms. Deals like this won't stick around long.
Hi, we're Ellen,
Steven, and Mark.
hosts of Nice Games Club, the show where nice game devs talk gaming and game development.
Topics include programming, design, tools, and more.
We also do interviews and one-hour game jams.
Listen to Nice Games Club wherever you get to your podcast. You get there. Or at nicegames.club.
When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year, we'll be there for you. I'm Ryan, the line is always a dot to me.
And I'm Mark. How you doing? And we are a podcast of two friends watching Friends. We live in every episode of the TV show Friends in all its glory, delving behind the scenes and discussing all our favourite moments.
Join us as we get reacquainted with some old friends and hopefully make some new ones, only on the HyperX Podcast Network.
Good morning, yeah! 1, 2, 3, Yakutkata, the place to be! Hardcore! Hardcore! Hardcore to the mega! Internally coherent!
We're going to write 2 more episodes, and then we have wild cards, my side superhero thing that no one cares about. Yep, those are coming out. I remember reading speculation The Winds of Winter would come out like in 2013. I'd go to my buddy Eric, I'm like, I read so much that it's coming this year.
Yeah.
Like, I read these great theories. It's coming. You might even have the next one done. I feel stupid. Morale dropped by 5. We have talked a lot. Hey, we're back. We have talked a lot about dice rolls and skill checks, and I want to discuss a little bit about how this all works. So you start off the game, and you can kind of choose some predefined builds. What is it? Logic, emotional, or like physical, or like the kind of 3 overarching ones. Or you can go.
There's 4, right?
The 4th one is just kind of set it how you want.
Sure.
You can go in and set everything to 1 and really be a fucking dope if you want.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Kind of like in Fallout.
Or if you want to, do it.
You ever done that in Fallout? Where you do everything 0 besides you max out your luck?
I've heard of people doing this, and I still think it's psychotic. So
it's an absolute bananas move, but it's kind of hilarious that that's what I like about dialogue-based games, that some statistic is so low that you legitimately can't put out a fucking sentence. To me, is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and Harry has issues with that as well. But you choose something that kind of gives you a predefined set of skills, and from then on, you have dialogue options, and you're going to run into these things called skill checks. Now, there's 2 kinds of skill checks. Well, there's 2 big ones, and then there's like a subdivision. But passive checks are ones that you never know are happening. You'll see endurance, skill check success, and you didn't have to choose anything.
Yep.
If your skills are high enough in certain things, that's why all of a sudden, like if you're high in physical instrument, it'd be like, you should punch this kid. It turns out my physical instrument wanted to be a part of the discussion, and it wasn't high enough to actually. I didn't have the hand-eye coordination to deliver on said attack. But so those are passive checks. Those are always affecting the game. You never. These decisions happen automatically.
Yeah.
You'll also have things like I think it's the one that like tunes you into the city. We'll go over the skills in a second. Shivers. If you have more shivers, you'll notice more things. If you have a higher inland empire, you can like imagine like where the Ferris wheel was and you can see things happening. And a lot of these things are natural options you wouldn't even know you like were getting only because you have a certain build.
I accidentally put a lot of points into Encyclopedia.
Oh, I love Encyclopedia.
That helps you out though.
Well, a ton. But then I've heard of and I've seen videos and stuff where people that are like, yeah, if you don't have enough encyclopedia, like it doesn't tell you about the world. I was like, oh, that's why all the fucking time I have this thing explaining to me the revolutions that happen and all this back story because I put so many fucking points into Encyclopedia.
What's great about that? When you're talking to the ravers, they talk about contact microphones.
Yeah,
and if you have a high encyclopedia, you get this one. Your brain wants you to know there was a boxer called Contact Mike.
Yep. Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
And then you can start talking about Contact Mike, and you can go on a long tangent, and Kim's like embarrassed, and the people are pretending to be interested.
Yeah.
And
so basically, it's just autism.
But the worst part is that shit like that I really relate to because I feel like sometimes I am like that I'm like,
oh, I'm definitely that type of person.
I actually know about this weird subject. Let's fucking talk about it. And sometimes I can't tell if someone's actually intrigued by it or not. I'm like, do they actually fucking care or am I just bumbling?
Yeah, you rolled low on empathy.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's how I ended up in IT.
We have one more beer we're drinking here from Barrel Theory. This is the Raindrops IPA. The world is ending. Cheers.
It is delicious.
Cheers, baby.
Wow.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I really like the mosaic patterns on the cans. I think it's simplistic and really interesting.
Is it that brewery from Minnesota?
This is the St. Paul one. Barrel Theory's got a really good reputation. This is maybe the first time I've had this.
I have one of those in my house, actually. My buddy brought me one not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
They make really good IPAs. I'm sure if Josh is listening, he'll know about this. I don't know if he would listen to this much about Disco Elysium, though.
I was at a family gathering this weekend, and I bought a nice, like, 12-pack of... I bought 2 12-packs of, like, Milwaukee Brewing Company and Lakefront because I was going to use it for, like, the gift exchange thing that we do. Like, I just wrap it up, and people love beer. It's an obvious choice.
Yeah.
It's something that everyone kind of wants. And I'm walking into the house. I just arrived there. I dropped both of them. You're shatter everywhere. No. And I'm just like, I spent $40 on this beer.
Oh no.
I was just like, I had a few fallen soldiers I could like assemble into a 6-pack, and I'm like, well, this isn't what I was going to give to people. It's just, it's so depressing.
Also, I hope you know that after I'm done doing my family stuff after this, I'm gonna go home and play some disco.
Oh yeah. Well,
I am. I'm just torqued up talking about this shit.
I played such a straightforward cop, and I watched a lot of videos today, and everyone says your second playthrough is the best because you just go hard into the superstar cop, like do all the drugs and have a crazy time. And yeah, Kim will disapprove a little bit, but they say it's so funny. Like you just go in there.
I got to do that.
Well, one thing that I had a lot of trouble with, I was always low on money. And you have options like
money is always low in
and it's like
it
is low, but
there are some money drops that are pretty dang high.
Well, I heard that there was people that they were like, it's impossible to get the 130 real within the first 2 days, and I was like, I got it immediately.
Yeah,
I was also not spending any of my money on drugs.
How did you get it?
I got it as well. I sold a rifle.
Yeah,
which I don't know if I was supposed to, but I did.
And I was selling books too. That I found
the books. Yeah, that's how I got it.
Kim's out there trying to solve a murder, and I am drinking beer, carrying a plastic bag, picking up every bottle I can find. Yeah, try to punch a kid.
I did think it was really funny the fact that that's one of your like, you know, in other games you have this equipment, right? To you know, you can level up your backpack or whatever, and his thing is a fucking plastic bag.
Oh yeah,
to pick up garbage.
You can buy like a frog visor to wear. Like you can just be decked out.
Dude, I thought this. I tried so hard. I was like, I want to make Harry look cool.
It's very difficult. I made the mistake of
shaving hard.
I made the mistake of shaving him, and his face was just haunting me.
Yeah, he does not. He's got a face hidden under there.
That man had no drip.
No.
Just
Much like I think me and Brad can probably say if we shaved our beards, it would be very disorienting.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, the outfit he starts with has the most drip of all. Like the yellow pants and that like green jacket.
I love that outfit.
It's a great look.
but it doesn't really give you any cool stats.
No, it doesn't.
So-
it gives you a little Inland Empire.
Yes,
right?
yes, it does.
We talked about the passive checks. Then there are also the active checks. This is where you're going to be running into dice rolls. And let's say this is about savoir faire. That is like your physical dexterity to do cool stuff. So like someone is throwing the keys or something to you. You'll do a dice roll to see if you're cool enough to catch it. And depending on how much you have into that skill, you're more likely or less likely to get it. You can roll up to 12. Now, some of these require more than 12 to get them. And this confused me for a while, but the way it works is skill level. So if you have a skill level of 8 and then you roll 12, you'll get up to 20.
Correct.
But there are some that...
It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Yep. And there are also skill checks, though, which if you roll 2 6s, you get it.
Yeah.
You just get it.
It's a crit, right?
And there's some that are going to be 2 1s, and you can get that as well. You can sit there and save scum. I didn't do it on the 3%. I did it for some like 8% where I'm like, I just need to get this done, and I don't want to.
Can I say I did not save scum the entire game?
I think it would have been harder back then because the loading times were pretty bad. I hear.
It was choppy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thought that my graphics card for my PC was not optimized well. But meanwhile, like I can play a game like Sekiro, and it runs at a perfect 60 frames.
And it's just one of those things that like that's what like development is so not in the whole thing, but like
I think it's also part of the visual element. I think it's actually supposed to look a little bit like
garbage.
Like they're they're animated a very specific way. Like they do it in like Into the Spider-Verse where they make it a little choppier just to kind of show you what the storyboarding is.
But they're also an indie developer, right? So they don't have the same capabilities as a AAA.
It should also be said that this game is not a graphical powerhouse in the slightest.
No.
It's all about it is essentially like a Final Fantasy, like the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasies, where you basically get a painting in the background and the characters have planes that they can walk on within that painting.
And the painting is beautiful. The portraits are beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's more about what they accomplish through storytelling.
Correct. You could literally play the game on low res and it doesn't matter.
It's much like Hades, where the characters are small.
It's literally the exact isometric view.
And they don't have a ton of animation, but the portrait is so evocative and the dialogue and voice acting is so good that you don't need more.
Yeah.
Something they added for Disco Elysium's Final Cut, they added political alignment quests. So that's something that you didn't have.
No.
Now, there are 4 different major political factions. And if you say enough fascist things or ultra-liberal things, eventually you get a pop-up like...
The 4 are, it's communism, fascism,
moralism.
Moralism, that's the one that I was missing. And then ultra-liberal, or liberalism.
Yeah. Right? Yep, those are the 4. And eventually you would get unique quests that culminate in you getting like a different background behind your character and a different attitude and some different dialogue. If you achieve the fascist quest and you call yourself the icebreaker in front of Kim, he gets fucking pissed. He cuts you down hard.
Really?
Because you call yourself the icebreaker and he's like,
I went into
no, he's like, that's not fine.
I was moralistic.
Yeah.
I went to the moralism kind of realm.
I think that I wound up communist.
These are interesting. Do they have an effect on the storyline?
Yes and no, because you can also choose to not.
It's the same way that everything has an effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can be wearing a set of gardener gloves from a quest and just still have them on, and then out of nowhere later on, someone will say, "You should be a gardener. You already got the gloves." Like there is a snowballing effect of everything in the world, and it all comments and is aware of each other. There's over 1 million words written for this game.
Dude, I did see that. It was, insane. The dialogue is just bananas.
The dialogue trees. I mean, the narrator, Lenval Brown, besides the other characters, he was recording voice lines for 8 months, which is very not normal for voice acting.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had to change things. I'm sure a lot of this was like editing in that whole process.
And can you imagine how many times you had to say the same thing over and over to get it with the right tone and everything, like much like real acting, right? Where they have to say it a certain way.
I did want to talk about fascism for a second.
Love it.
Big fans here.
We love it here.
So when you get the option for the fascism side quest, you have to, when you choose like that's your political alignment, it's your stomach talking to you because it's all about like your gut reaction. And it says, it's like, you know who's really ruining this country, right? You have the options. It's like liberalists or I don't even like all of the options are different like political organizations, and no matter which one you choose, he's like, you're right, but you know who it really is. No matter what you choose, your gut says something else. Like, yeah, but you know what it is? Women. And it just goes off on this tirade about how you hate women, and then at the end you're like, I don't think this is a good thing, or you can be like, women.
Yeah, women suck.
And it's essentially helps you self-rationalize why Harry's not getting laid. Yeah. It's not any of the reasons of why Harry is a questionable lay. It's their fault. It talks about getting women back in the kitchen. It's crazy. And it's very much making fun of it and aware and making comments on it. Scary. And communists are great too. Communists, I love the communist plot line. At the end of the game, when you solve the mystery, you find it's an old communist who's been living on an island for like 50 years, and you can tell him like, I am a full communist, dude. I am your brother, and he's like, you're a fucking liberal. He calls you he calls you like an idiot right away. And I was like, dang,
that's the deserter.
Yeah. The deserter. You have Josef Dross. Josef Lilianovich Dross.
That's something that I found interesting, that even after you find out his name, it still refers to him as the deserter.
Yeah. You find out that the murder was done by this guy living on an island. He's been out there by himself for a very long time. And he's talking about why he did it. He's like, I killed that fucking fascist pig because he's a monster. And you're like, no, you were watching that woman for a while. I was like, yeah, I wasn't horny.
I was super not horny the whole time.
And you found out that he may or may not have like killed another woman.
Yeah.
Because he just watches the world through a sniper scope. And he was also the one who shot the statue that's in the center.
And he wants to inflict as much pain.
I forgot about that
others.
detail. He's the one who took out the neck of the horse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was just mad one day.
Also, what a shoddily constructed statue.
Yeah.
It's
you can do some things to mess with it with the political alignment quests where you can like if you do the communist one, they're like, we're putting flyers on it. We got them. It's like, yeah. Well, the whole communist movement is two students having philosophical discussions all day. That's the whole communist movement.
I love it. I mean, it's just like it's in a way it's its own commentary on our just regular life.
The ultra, like, in just like these are just some of the descriptions. Everything's got descriptions you don't go into. The ultra liberalism. Do you grind and hustle? Sure, you do. You're a money engineer, a money scientist. You move money on a level inconceivable to the ordinary.
With that one, there's you actually have to do like a quest to like level up your net worth.
Yeah, well,
and then at the end you find out that you create this number and it doesn't fucking mean anything.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's incredible. That the fact that like it makes you hustle and grind to level up your net worth, and then at the end of it, Harry realizes that like it doesn't fucking mean anything.
No. Well,
and again, it's just the like social commentary on top of everything else.
There is a character in the final cut that's not in the original that's associated with that quest. I didn't do the quest, but I met the guy in a shipping container.
This all sounds very foreign to me.
There's a shipping container which you try and open for a long time in Everett Claire's area.
Yeah,
and it's very hard. But I got it open one time, and you go in, and all of the light is bending on the screen and looks crazy. And the name of the character is Light Bending Rich Guy. There's like a principle. He is so much richer than Harry that light bends around him and you can't perceive what he looks like. and Kim's like, he looks normal to me. But Harry is so poor that he can't see what this guy's face looks like. And the reason I had money is if you can convince him to donate some money to like start a charity.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, but he'll give you $100 and you can just keep it.
Sure.
And Kim's like, I'm so proud of you. And then you keep it. And Kim's like, So we discussed some of that, some of those things going on. We discussed the thought cabinet, how that works, and you will be starting to get like lists of tasks. The major task in the game is to solve the murder.
Yep.
Kuno's in the backyard.
God, Kuno, every time.
I love that shitty accent. I don't know why. It sounds like shit, but I love it.
Kuno.
He fucking died.
Yeah. It's just like every time you hear it, it like destroys my eardrums, and I somehow still love it.
And you wanna hate the kid, but you realize he's
not a bad dude.
He's got you meet his dad, who's just passed out in a drug stupor. You feel bad for the kid.
He's also severely just mentally ill in general.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's abused.
And you find out when you're looking for you're helping the cryptozoologist, and you check all of the traps, and there's no locusts in there. You go and you find all the locusts in Kuno's house, and he's like, I'm making a locust city. And he's super embarrassed about it. He's like, I just was going to kill him. And
no, he was just trying to create.
He liked him. And Kuno S, which is the name of the girl who hangs out with him, she's like, just shut up. This is hard to listen to. Yeah, Kuno becomes your partner if Kim dies.
Oh, shit.
Or Kim gets injured anyways. Yeah, thank goodness I didn't either.
Yeah, I didn't have that either, no.
So,
I heard about it, but I didn't have that.
So
I think you got to make a lot of mistakes.
I think my biggest regret is not having enough Inland Empire to where I talked with my tie.
No, yeah, I also, like I said, I put a lot of my points in encyclopedia.
I don't remember if I did or not.
Visual calculus and logic.
Know. The horrific necktie has its own voice and has discussions and dialogue with you.
That's what you sent us today.
I sent you a video earlier.
I didn't have time to watch it. I was on the road.
It was hilarious.
You make a spirit bomb with it. You get like this bottle of crazy alcohol, and you put the tie in it, and instead of shooting the guy, you can throw a Molotov cocktail, and the tie says, "This is the end game. Fucking do it!" And you throw the tie at the guy. We can, here.
I thought it was hilarious having my girlfriend be. So I would very often play it like in my living room.
Yeah.
So I just stream it to my living room. So while I play my game, my girlfriend's like reading her book, and every once in a while she just like look up and she's like, "What the fuck is this game?"
Here, Dylan, we'll just watch this.
All right, end game. Light me on fire and throw me in his face.
That's your tie.
The bomb hits the mercenary in the chest, swallowing him in flames as he staggers backward.
In the fiery inferno, you'll see your tie coiling around the man's neck. It is no longer horrific, but beautiful and pure.
I only ever wanted you to have fun, Harry.
It calls out to you one last
The voice is like Dobby.
My name, should you know it, is Jupes and A.S. Men's Fashion Model Colourful Tie, catalogue number J327. One day a sad man walked into a clothing store. He looked really darn like he hadn't had fun in years. He needed someone to show him how to rock and roll again. Jupes and A.S. catalogue number J327 shone on the tie rack, trying to get his attention. The sad man picked it up and put it on. He looked at himself in the mirror, didn't smile. I did everything a multi-pattern necktie can do to help a man. I mean, I tried to get you to do all the fun things. Drink beer, drink wine, drink cider. Go to parties with young people around and drink beer and cider. Do drugs too, so you don't fall asleep. You had some fun, but not enough to heal you.
Harry's thinking a lot in this one.
Yeah. Your heart is broken, Bratushka, and it cannot be mended. Believe me, I've tried. No, you're going to be mowed down by gunfire from the 2 remaining mugs. So no, not forever. You both did, Bratan. Deep down, you know it was both of you.
Harry, see this. There's also a thing that happens where if you over level a skill, you can become too good at something. And like he has too much imagination to where he's just imagining 3 voices coming out of his tie. If you overlevel drama, you become like an annoying thespian. There are some negatives sometimes to like leveling up too much of one thing. Reaction speed will make you like too nervous and like quick to do stuff.
Just twitchy.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem in video games ever. I have this awful thing sometimes I feel that is I try to just balance out so much that you end up just not being good at just one thing.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing and a bad thing because then I don't end up seeing things like that.
Yeah.
Because
you don't want to go too far one way.
Yeah. And again, I was bringing up like my first, I think, real RPG that I ever played was Fallout.
Yeah.
Right. And like I really tried to make my guy be in the middle, but then like when you're in the middle, like it's kind of no fun. And then as my later playthroughs went on, I was like, cool. It's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna make my guy mega fucking smart.
Yeah.
But then he's super fucking weak.
Well, and that's something with this game. If you like all visual calculus, no Inland Empire, you're gonna be so good at looking at a crime scene and just picking up things you see.
Yeah.
But you won't be able to imagine like where could the bullet have come from as much because you don't have the ability to like perceive things on top of that. We don't need to talk about all the skills.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
And there's some of them that like, obviously they're in the game and I think they're important.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like, also that's why I think it's fun with most RPGs that you can make it very personal to like the way that you want things to be.
Sure.
And I mean, I don't know how you guys play, but like I always, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I kind of self-project.
I do it
all the time.
I try to make my character look like me.
Yeah.
And I try to pretend that I'm in that world.
Yeah, same.
I don't have the ability. It's not that I don't have the ability. It's just that I don't have it in mind that I'm actually playing a role half the time.
Correct.
I'm actually just projecting myself.
Well, I want to be in it. That's my thing.
And I will never take amphetamine while I'm like ever. Just in general, I don't do amphetamine.
Sure.
But let alone you're getting a look from a guy who's your new partner.
Yeah.
You just tried to punch a kid, or whatever else is going on. You just tried to tell a lady you want to make fuck with her, and it's like you should do a lot of blow.
I try to, and I've been trying to. I think as I mature in just my playing games to play a role, like you said, to be more like, okay, this isn't me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let me play this playthrough. Let me play as Super Cop.
Yeah.
Right? As fucking whatever to then get those other fun dialogue options or different scenarios that I wouldn't regularly get as just wanting to be myself in a game.
Yeah.
Because part of the fun, I think, is to not be yourself, right?
It's one of those things, though, where I know if I do go back in, my Harry will fucking party and just he'll go for it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I was always playing it safe, where if it was like a low check, I'm like, I don't need to do it now. I can come back.
Yeah.
People say it's so fun when Harry misses checks because just seeing him fuck up stuff, and he's still Harry, he's still cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did the thing where I was trying to shoot down the body, and I
shot Kuno.
No, I shot the body.
Oh, okay. You can shoot Kuno.
I shot the body.
If you shoot Kuno, it's an instant game over.
Really?
Drunk cop shoots kid. Yeah. No. And if you have enough, I don't know what it is. Maybe shivers. The body talks with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've had that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then also there's enough to where I dug into the body's mouth and found the bullet in the brain.
Yep.
Oh boy, from the mouth?
Well, because you don't know there's a bullet. You actually have to like go in and find it because it went in the mouth. So there was no like bullet
autopsy.
hole.
Yeah.
So from like that?
Yeah.
Oh, like this. And it just had his mouth open because he was
like
he was mid coitus. He was on his knees.
Yeah.
And the guy was on an island a long ways away. But
hey.
So
some real Sniper Elite shit.
One of the things that I thought was good reference.
Thank you.
One of the things that I thought was cool with Shivers was, I feel like it wasn't the reveal of what Shivers was. I think was almost as groundbreaking to me as the finale of the game. That realizing that Shivers is Revachol, because the whole time Shivers,
whether or not the city is actually talking with you.
Yeah, correct.
I don't know if it ever says anything that you necessarily wouldn't know, but it's definitely, it is a real thing that's happening to Harry. It might just be in his brain, but the Shivers is great. Yeah, the city's like, city speaking with you is really cool.
And and then when it has that, it eventually reveals itself to you.
Yeah.
As the city of Revachol, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. Because the whole time it's like, even if you put points into Shivers, you're like, this is cool, but why do I suddenly have this? You know, it's that back of the neck feeling that you're like, man, that's crazy.
So at the end of the game, you do wind up running into a phasmid, a giant stick insect, and I just want to read what he said to me because it's like,
did you take a picture of it?
It just went too hard. Yeah. Where is it? Right here. He's like, well, he says many things, and he's first a phasmid. They say, my brain doesn't work like yours. It's pretty straightforward. I just think about what I need, and I kind of go there. Yeah. And he says, they say understanding what goes on in your brain scares us. Like, we know that you will destroy the world. Humans don't know how to control themselves. You have so much going on in your brain that's not controllable. And you kind of make friends with it. And it says, Harry, you need to let go of the woman. And Harry will say, do you mean Ruby? Do you mean Klostja? Or it says those two, and you can choose one or like another one. And it says, you cannot lie to me. Behind you, it smells of fires. So awfully far you were prepared to go in her presence. End it. And he's talking about your ex. And I was like, I will try. And then the Insulindian phasmid goes, she was hell on earth. It doesn't take a 3-meter stick insect to tell you that. I was like, it knows my ex. It was just crazy that I love that dialogue. It doesn't take a fucking insect to tell you that lady was bad for you, dude. Oh, I thought that was such good dialogue.
It's cute.
And also, but like the insect is talking about how the end of the world will come, and it's probably going to be because of humans.
Yeah.
And
well, then it just, another thing that's cool about this game is that if there's like this kind of apocalypse happening as you speak, this is such like a focused story that you're never going to see the actual conclusion of all of that.
Correct.
But also, we are living in a finite world as well. There will be an end to our universe at some point.
Yep.
So it's the same thing going on here. Just because we don't think about it doesn't mean it's not happening.
I feel like the pale can be like, it can correlate to even like climate change.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's something that like, it's ever looming and it could potentially end us.
Yeah.
But how do we, I mean, and obviously there's ways to correct it, but us as regular human beings that don't, hold high political positions, right?
Meanwhile, there's Everard Clare and Lindsey Graham. And
exactly.
There's all these people.
That could actually make a change, but choose not to.
Right.
Well, and humans will, if we don't destroy everything, it'll be amazing.
But
statistically, it's impossible.
And we're on track to absolutely destroy everything.
The fact that we haven't destroyed ourselves with nuclear bombs yet is a miracle.
Yeah, well, we're there.
And there were some close calls. There were some close calls.
I think the close calls are still coming.
There's so many iconic little moments throughout the game. Did you guys do karaoke?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I did this.
I had to sing.
He has maybe the worst singing voice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I would often stay there in that tiny yard there. I have been so glad here. Looking forward to the past here.
You did the sad song, right?
I did the sad song.
Is there another one? I think there's only the sad song.
I think, yeah.
There's like an upbeat one, right?
Is there? Okay.
I don't know. I only chose this. Like, I want to play a sad, mournful tune, something like that.
That was my task was to do the sad song.
It was the only one I had.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because there is multiple tapes I think you can do.
I think that's your tape as well that you went and bought from the pawn shop, because that's the same song you were listening to on repeat.
Yep.
Actually, but no, how would you sell it that night? Maybe you had to go find another copy. That is the same song you were singing though.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This game is worth like multiple playthroughs. That's
for sure.
That's the main thing about it. Like, we could talk about it all day, but then it's just like, what choice did you make and how did it work? Paired with everything else that's going on and alongside in the game, you never know actually what you're getting and what you're not getting, or how it works, because it's non-chronological anyway.
Correct.
So it's not like, when you got to this part, what did you do? It's more like, when did you get to this part?
There's some people that like, that, and then depending on obviously your checks and your rolls and whatever, but they solved the whole thing within like just a couple of days.
Yeah.
Which I think, again, and I don't know if it's because I'm a slow reader or because I need to get into every nook and cranny, but
so every dialogue option advances the time about 10 minutes.
Something like that, yeah.
That's what I've learned.
Depending on the dialogue, they move forward. There were times where I needed it to move forward, and so I'd read a book. Reading books make it move faster. You can play board games.
I did get stuck a couple of times that I was like, I need to move time, and I was like, what the fuck?
So you know what's fucking bad game design. Great writing, bad game design. There's fast travel in the Final Cut version.
Really?
What?
Right? I got it to work one time. It doesn't explain it to you, and I looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, you need to be standing in like certain areas, and you pull up your map in the menu, and it lets you fast travel to 3 different areas.
What?
I got it to work one time. I couldn't get it to work again. So there is.
So they don't even tell you where it is.
They don't tell you how it works. They don't tell you where to go.
I never fast traveled once. I've always just booked my ass everywhere.
Because it's usually by the time I'd fiddle around and not make it work, it's like I could have just ran. Half of the way there.
Right. Which like going from like the west end all the way back to the east end can be a fucking trek.
Yeah, and we won't be able to talk about everything, unfortunately. But I did also want to mention the Rave Church was a very important moment for me.
Same.
You have to solve.
I thought it was pinnacle. That's why I thought it was crazy that it was a side quest.
Well, one of the things that I was obsessed with in this game is disco. Because anytime that you can mention disco, and there's a few like the old moral intern lady, she's like, oh, I love disco. It's not here anymore. The disco's gone.
Yeah.
The disco's gone. But you go into the church and you can get them to start playing music.
Yep.
And you have to win a few skill checks. You start dancing, and then eventually it's like, do you want to crank this shit up to the hardcore to the mega?
Yeah.
And Egghead's, this is another one that I took a picture. Egghead says, hardcore fills the air. And Shivers says, on the coast of the Martinez Inlet, in a small weather-beaten stave church built 380 years ago by settlers from the Occident, most likely to guard against an anomaly at its center, an officer of the RCM is contorting his body into idiotically rigid shapes as he invents the future of dance music. It's the hardest anyone has ever danced. And I was like, something's happening here, guys. And that was a big moment for me. The fact that I invented the future of dance music in a church with Egghead and 2mm hole in the church. It's one of those moments.
It's like Back to the Future.
Well,
you discovered rock and roll.
Yeah, it's your kids are gonna love it.
The way that made me feel when they like tuned into the 2mm hole.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were gonna fuck something up.
That was my shit. I was like, did I just break the fucking universe or whatever? But the fact that what they were hearing was like eternal nothingness.
Yeah.
And the only one that understood it was Egghead.
Yeah. That's hardcore.
It is. Yeah. It's like also like the most mellow he's ever spoken.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of struck by this game in another way too. I think that this is maybe because we did Indie Games month last year.
Yep.
And this is more associated in my mind with Kentucky Route Zero than anything.
Yes.
I don't know what that is.
It's okay.
It's one of the most important video games I've ever played.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
It's not.
It's a video game.
It's more artistic than this game.
Less reading, more artistic.
Less reading, but probably the most artistic video game I've ever played. That's a weird, an elusive way to describe it, but
I would describe even what this is more as maybe even closer to literature than.
Sure. This, I think, is the most artistic game I've ever played.
Okay.
And
I think
the meaning for this is largely derived from dialogue, whereas Kentucky Route Zero, it's like a tone poem. It's like evocative images, feelings.
Sure.
It's also about the collapse of society, but it does it in strikingly simple images with amazing music. And it's got all the strengths of stage play and cinema, and there's not a lot of gameplay in that one either. There's even less gameplay in Kentucky Route Zero, and
I thought there was going to be a lot more for some reason when I first started playing Zero.
Yeah.
And as I went on, I was just like, well, I don't need to care about that.
Yeah.
Like
the platforming in this game sucks.
Fuck, where's the jump button?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for this too, I think its rigidness is actually to its benefit.
Sure.
It's rigid in the way that it plays, but it expands. But it expands with everything else. The world is only so large in this.
Sure.
It's not huge.
Correct.
And it's kind of just this condensed thing. It's like a packet, and then you have it, and then there you are.
Yeah.
And which storytelling these days, especially in video games, does not do that.
Yeah.
they don't give you characters that come in and out, or they don't give you like
usually. Yeah, you're right. Usually it's pretty like spoon fed.
Well, yeah, I mean, like looking at like Uncharted games, it's like Nathan Drake kills 1 million people, and it's fine. We solved the mystery of the stupid treasure. And
throw me the gun, Sully, and he drops it.
Yeah,
and then he dies.
Yeah, and so I think for this, like, I think video games try to give you the power fantasy too much.
Sure,
and I think that's also its greatest strength, but also its greatest weakness, because people play video games to experience that. For the most part, by and large, people are there to be like, I'm going to shoot someone, or I'm going to be the coolest knight in a realm.
And not to take away the validity of those as video games, but this is such an important aspect of games that indie gaming specifically caters to.
Yep.
Because smaller teams with more specific visions about, I mean, how are you going to sell this as a pitch to anyone? Who's your hero? He's like 55. He's super hungover. He's a real dick. He is going to do a lot of drugs.
Heavily depressed.
Generally not likable.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of dealing with him.
Yeah.
And we're going to
even as you control him, you're like, fuck.
Even when you do all the right things, you're still kind of not liked.
Yeah.
And indie games are great at, they're not specifically just about gameplay, which I think is a strength. It's not necessary. I mean, what a video game is, it's so broad these days.
Yeah,
Back then it had to be simple, twitchy button responses.
Playable.
But this game is reading.
Yeah.
And that's why I struggled for a while. But if you're in the right mind frame
you have to be in the right mind frame.
My thing is
you don't come home at 2 a.m. really drunk and try and play this.
Literally, that was my point that I was just thinking about, was exactly that.
Yeah.
That I can't. A lot of times, sometimes I play video games to be mindless and just tune out shit. Right, I'll play like Apex or fucking whatever to just shoot things, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll have YouTube in the background even.
Yep.
To just zone out. This was a game that I needed to be like a book. I needed to be silent.
Yeah.
I needed to have my headphones on. I needed to be focused because it felt like almost every line mattered. Not always, like we said earlier. It's like some stuff is like you can delve into a subject as much as you want to delve into a subject, but also like it's your own prerogative at that point. How much you want to learn about
what's great
communism.
I am curious. What's great about video games is it requires choice and active input.
Yeah.
Now, some of my favorite pieces of cinema, the more you engage with it and contemplate it, the more you get out of it.
Yeah.
But also, it is possible to turn your brain off and just look at pretty pictures, and you won't know. You can watch the same movie as somebody else and have a completely different experience. But
100%.
But
I've seen Inglourious Bastards 18 times.
People can't. Disco Elysium. People can't
You got
just
a tally mark, huh?
Disco Elysium. People can't like be unengaged and still have any appreciation of what's going on because they're not there for the gameplay. You were there if you were playing this. Hopefully, you're not there for the gameplay because that's not why you're there.
Well, I mean, but the dialogue choices are gameplay. I think what's cool about this is I've played so many adventure games in my life, and they feel inconsequential because they're so arbitrary. Sorry, Tom. Get the pie to throw in the Minotaur's face. I'm just like, well, how would I know that the Minotaur didn't like pie? Like, it's like I'm looking at you, King's Quest. I don't think that's actually what happened in that game, but come on. And with this, it's more like it's deliberate. Everything kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Even when they don't make sense, there's kind of a narrative reason for it.
Yeah.
And you're just not being silly about everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's a masterpiece in its own right.
Oh, 1,000%.
I agree. And I didn't think it was a masterpiece when I started it up yesterday. 2 days ago, I was ready to not finish it because I didn't think I had the time. But once you're in the groove, because there was also enough people who's like, oh, don't worry, it'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. And there was big moments that I will forever remember and think about that will like stick out in my brain.
Yeah.
Which that's cool. That's a cool thing. I probably won't play it again for a long time. If I do play it again, though, I will lean into another style of play.
Sure.
Well, I think my girlfriend is actually going to like this a lot. I'm actually probably going to make her play it just because I'm like, well, this is something right up your alley.
Yeah.
It's something where you don't have to. It is so nonviolent in how it executes things, and it's also very thoughtful and purposeful. And games don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's when you see like dialogue from limbic system talking to your spinal cord.
Dude.
There's Carly's on her phone. She's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like I said, my girlfriend had the same. She's like, what are you fucking playing?
Yeah.
Right.
She's like, this is like a video game I've never seen.
And then your stomach goes, women. They don't even say woman. Women. He goes, woman.
You don't understand Harry like I do.
Yeah, and at the very end of the game, you solved the murder. You met a cryptid, and I have to talk about it. On the way out to the island, you get the boat, and you can tell Kim like, can you drive the boat? Because I want to just play tunes.
Yep.
You're like, because I want to blare Sad FM, and Kim's like, fine, whatever. And you stand at the boat with your boombox blaring Sad FM. And it's so cool. It's so like, it's such a slow, long scene. And you get there, and then Joseph Dross, they're like, how did you know we were coming? He's like, I could hear your radio from a long ways away. And meanwhile, Harry's just like playing sad music on his boat.
He just wanted an emotional moment.
He's like, this is the culmination of the case. I need some cool music. After you solve all that, you come back, and then you run into your squad, which you told to fuck off because they were cramping your style, and they're livid, they're pissed. And hopefully Kim's there, because Kim will stand up for you as much as he can. I've listened to a few different versions of this.
I got chastised the hell out of. That's all I remember.
Kim's like, he did drink. He drank. I think he did speed. And you have the option to try and lie there, and I'm like,
no,
I did it.
Just fess up.
Yeah.
And he's like, then you also get to like list off all of the good things or what you've accomplished, and it's really cool. And you're like, I started a rave church, and he was like, I don't know about this one. They're like, whatever, that's fine. You found housing for kids, good. And that's like where the game ends. Unfortunately, my Xbox version did not work well. And there's this the culmination where they help you into the car because you can barely walk. The door didn't open on the animation, so they pushed me through a door.
Oh, sure.
Oh, well.
And I was like, that really undermines my...
Yeah, that kind of kills the...
It's fine. And then you're kind of left with this like, oh, you just saw a snapshot of someone's life. That's it.
Yeah.
People were very disappointed by this ending.
I thought it was great.
I think it's good too.
What do you want differently? I don't know.
I think people wanted more conclusion. They wanted something where they can they can drop off on and feel okay about. But that's what people want of all narratives for the most part. It's like it's the happily ever after. It's anything that like
closure, which
nobody likes to think after a movie for the most part.
Correct. Well,
Tom Cruise was great. That's all you want to hear.
He flew the airplane.
But it's exactly that, and that's why in my opinion, that's why it's such a cool narrative, almost again to parallel our regular life of there's not a conclusion.
Yeah,
and it is kind of open ended, and it is just like there's. After you finish the game, Harry still lives and does his thing.
How many epilogues do you need? Do you need Kuno to go to school to be happy?
Yeah,
Do you need 5 Lord of the Rings endings to make sure?
And does it have to be, like you said, happily ever after? Something just life just fucking is what it is.
Well, and I think it's great because you solve the murder. I thought it was a great ending. I was surprised to hear that people were upset about it.
You can't have a game like this, I think, and also have this like fucking butterfly and roses kind of ending of like, oh, it's fucking beautiful and whatever. It's like, no,
the world's still gonna end.
It's shitty.
There's a 20-minute epilogue where the mentally incapacitated deserter is going to court. Do you want that?
Yeah.
Do you want him locked up?
Yeah.
You want to see the full Law and Order episode?
Literally.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, people who watch Law and Order.
Created by Dick Wolf.
Yeah. Created by Penis Dog.
Yeah. Penis Dog. It's better. I think this game is phenomenal. Even playing it very, very inebriated, I was still like absorbed and wrapped into it because it was just when I'm like that, just give me little things to click on.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I'll read it and I'll be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. I don't remember a lot of it. Let's be clear. But I'm going to play I'm literally probably going to play the final cut on my Switch when I get home.
That's great. Your Harry was moral, but you were drugged up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, I'm a good guy.
I'm a
Drunk is pissed. I'm good though.
I'm a good man. As I like see something out of the corner of my eye and I go, huh?
The moment I found a potent Pilsner, I drank that. I didn't want because they have vodka that was allegedly aged in the pail. I'm like, but it's still vodka. I don't want that. You can get Commodore Red, and it just says it's like wine guaranteed to make your mouth red. I'm like, no. You can get the special borscht. I'm not into that. I guess maybe I'd eat it, but no, the Pilsner, I'm like, I got to drink a beer. I do want to read the conclusion from Kurvitz, the writer, designer. He claims, somewhere near its end, you realize Disco Elysium is about a broken man working an unworkable case, but also broken people surviving an unworkable world. And the Sisyphean will it takes to see it resolving the way it ought to when you know it likely won't. Masterfully, it does this without really being a downer. The game can't bring itself to sugarcoat the exhausting pain it reflects, but it leaves you fuller than before, achingly aware of how there's no destruction from which you cannot rebuild and that hope will never die. The guy's pretty smart.
Yep.
The only other person I know from Estonia is the Brendan Fraser character.
Huh?
Encino Man.
Oh, yeah.
He's from Estonia?
Yeah.
I don't remember Encino Man.
I took I
get that confused with Blast
I
from the
took
Past.
all of the powerful message I just read and I just made it about Brendan Fraser's.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I do think it makes sense, though, finding out like his background and everything is that it does correlate very much to the story and like the history of like Revachol and everything, how like deeply convoluted it is and like how miserable it can be sometimes.
Hard to understand, like our regular world.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But like, and that's especially like Eastern Europe has a lot of conflict and deep-rooted, kind of issues that they've had for millennia almost, right? That like you definitely see it showing in the game that you're like, wow, it's just incredible.
No easy answers.
Yeah. No straightforward.
Drugs aren't the answers.
No,
but
if they help you.
Drugs aren't the answer, asterisk. But maybe.
That voice in your head's like, you should find some speed and sniff it right now.
As it is an mature game. Violence, blood, sexual themes, strong language, use of drugs.
So this was banned in Australia.
Because you're not allowed to take pills
for the drug use.
in Australia.
But they made a case. The creators no, the drugs have negative consequences, and it makes sense.
It actually went through.
So it went through because they had to convince them drugs aren't like a fun, cool thing. It's just something that's in the game and has negative repercussions. Yeah. And they thought it would get banned in China, and it didn't because it talks a lot about communism.
Oh, sure.
But they changed some homosexuality in it.
Not much, but there is.
Not much.
They took the word communism and they gave it to the American translation of commie or something. It's more it's not communism in the Chinese game.
Sure.
It's something
like collectivism or
it's something like
that.
it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I always forget that the standards for like media is different within different countries, right?
Mm-hmm. How many game studios first game they put out is something that is like this powerful though? That's like pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So this was first published in 2019, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
If I'm on the if I'm thinking about it right, they helped finish the final cut. I would assume maybe they're taking a break. Studios like this, I think they only make things once every 7 years.
It's got to be, yeah.
Yeah, take your time.
Take your time. I'll play it.
Yeah. Something that they did that was cool too is when they were looking for translations, because it's a million fucking words.
Yeah.
They just went to fans in different languages that they found, like, if you think you'd be good for it, let us know.
Cool.
And
We'll pay
they kind of, they just like if someone came forward, like, we'll pay you and help you do it. But it was very much like if you're passionate and you want to help us out, we can't pay you a lot, but we want it to get out there as much as possible. We'll meet you as much as we can.
That's tight.
Yeah. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any final thoughts on Disco Elysium?
I mean, no, I pretty much said everything I was going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to end up playing it. And
like
I'd love to see it through someone else's eyes. So I think the next time I play it, I will have someone else playing it while I watch. Because I think that actually might make the complete difference for me.
Yeah, yeah.
because seeing other people's choices would probably affect me a bit more because I'd be like, well, my Harry didn't do that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Definitely multifaceted, which I think is incredible. And again, it's, like you said earlier, it's not a game that I think I would recommend to everybody, but it's one of those games that if you appreciate, deep dialogue, if you can watch The Godfather, you can probably play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would jealously guard recommendations for this. Because I'm so fond of it, I don't want my morale to be hurt by a friend saying they don't like it.
Well, I think then it'd be in a very hairy way that if someone doesn't like it, you just be like, well, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, you're fucking wrong. So
finger
whatever.
pistols are cool. Man. Finger pistols are cool. Love it.
Yep. Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Hair of the Dogcast exists because of people like you. If you have any questions or thoughts about this episode, if you want to tell us about how your Harry did or did not save the world or did drugs or face the apocalypse or punched children or stole money or everything, you can buy a streetlight for $700 real. You shouldn't, but you buy it.
I almost did.
Well, if you do buy it, the guys, you have no way to move it. And the guy's like, you can store it here. It just stays there. You don't get anything out of it. And the only good thing is Kim says, I'm really glad we couldn't carry that around. Let us know on Twitter @HotDogcast or Instagram, Hair of the Dogcast. You can also email us at hairofthedogcast@gmail.com for access to bonus episodes early, our after show, and an exclusive podcast where we discuss movies and TV. Check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/hairofthedogcast. Executive producers Ryan Christianick, Tyler Keller, Kip, Brian Ward, and Katie Bone. Thanks for your support as executive producers. We're part of the HyperX Podcast Network. For more information, check out podcast.hyperx.com. Next week is Indie Games Month Part 3.
Nice.
And we will be discussing Cuphead.
Nice. Yay.
Have you checked the DLC out at all?
Is it out?
Yeah. It just came out like a week ago.
Oh, pooey. I got to do that.
It's very good. I don't know if it's easier or I'm just better.
I'll have to download it through Game Pass because I don't want to pay for it on my Switch, which I originally had it on.
I'm very not like excited to move on from Disco Elysium, but Cuphead just seems like a real good change of pace after trying to cram that much into my brain.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those things. You just
Talk about finger guns, huh?
Yeah.
And Hollow Knight, I think I might have controversial opinions about 2 weeks.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Have you played Hollow Knight?
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I think it's great.
How far are you into it?
Probably about 8 hours.
It doesn't sound good.
It gets better.
I was gonna say
it gets way better.
I'm liking it, but
don't say it's hollow.
Alrighty, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Absolutely, man.
Julian, thanks so much for joining us.
You've
really
been great.
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
You're definitely coming back.
We'll have you back on.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Prime Day is coming. Check out the HyperX store on Amazon.com to find great Prime Day deals on July 12th and July 13th. Stock up on the latest gaming gear from HyperX, so you'll be ready for all the new launches and content drops this summer. Mark your calendars and set your alarms. Deals like this will not be around long.